Welcome back to another FPL reaction stream, this time at a Double Gameweek 26, and we still have a couple of matches left for Gameweek 25, including a big one tomorrow between Liverpool and Manchester City. I'm not all out just yet, but there could be a benching regret here with Hugo Ekitike first on my bench, and Erling Haaland is in the starting 11, but my captain Bruno Fernandes has delivered 10 points overall. The bonus will be added very soon, but Cole Palmer was the standout player this week with a hat-trick against Wolves in the first half, and overall it has been a very promising game so far for me. I've gone up in rank by almost 100,000 places to 165k, there or thereabouts, and it will decrease from now until the end of the game week, but if I can still stay within the top 200k, it would be a decent set of progression, I'd say, for game week 25, but there's still a long way to go, of course, and with my transfer plans, which I discussed in my recent podcast, like the team selection, I am looking to add a third Arsenal player, and Jurien Timber will be the priority. And in order to fund that move, Igor Thiago could be sold to a striker like Mane, who, I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of, but he does double, and he gives me the funds necessary to make that big upgrade. Weising says 49 points with 2 City to go. Could be so much better, though. It can feel that way, but if you are on a green arrow, then it's not too shabby so far. But I think for those who are walking the tightrope, it could be a very tricky situation because we've got several games tomorrow, of course, and the Man City one will be huge. At least we've got 2 players there. I'm probably going to guess it's Semenyo and Erling Haaland, but let me know their Weising. Wanted to sell Evanilson for Joao Pedro, but I'm scared of him hauling, so I've sold DCL instead. Yeah, not great. And to be fair, Evanilson is more likely to return in the more difficult fixtures, and Calvert-Lewin is quite difficult to predict. He had a purple patch in December, then he had quite a few games without scoring, and he had a few chances yesterday, to say the least. He could have had a brace or a hat-trick, and in the end he scored a very good goal, in fact, with his chest, and it was a very creative finish in the end. Let's go. Palmer's my captain. Fair play. I think that's a great option. He was third in my Campsy list. He arguably could have been higher, but I thought Joao Pedro, with the form he was in, was a bit more of a standout. And with Palmer, the minutes was always going to be a concern, but the fact he scored the hat-trick in the first half, he got the job done very early. Forgot to make transfers the last deadline. Yeah, well, it was a Friday one, and I remember you, if I'm not mistaken, you were in the deadline stream and you actually asked me, isn't the deadline tomorrow? And I told you, well, no, the deadline's now, which is why I'm going live. So, yeah, I wasn't just going live for the sake of it, easy. It's early in the morning during the deadline. At least I have 2 free transfers in Double Gameweek 26. I think having flexibility with 2 or more available moves is very useful for a Double Gameweek. So it could bode in your favor. It could actually turn out to be quite a good thing, a blessing in disguise. But yeah, there's still a long way to go there. Early around 2 a.m, there is another game week with an early deadline. On Tuesday, we've got another one, a very quick turnaround. And the plan is to get all the usual content out. I'll do my best to get that done, the transfer tips, best wildcard squad, and my team selection. But after that, we have a little bit of a break, but UCL Fantasy will be around the corner as well. Pau Torres bench today. Is he dropped or rotated? I think probably rotated. The thing is with Pau Torres, we saw periods over the last year or two where he has dropped to the bench, and you would think he is first choice alongside Konsa, but that's not always the case. And yeah, I think there were some surprises across all the starting 11s this week, and whilst I did quite well in my predictions, there were a few that I could never have really foreseen, especially Nottingham Forest yesterday. Welcome, Mustafa. Good to see you. 73 is a great score, and you've got Haaland and Munoz to go. I think 80 is doable, but yeah, Erling Haaland and Man City have a terrible record at Anfield. We'll see if that changes tomorrow. Triple captain Gabriel or Rice next game week. Gabriel would be the preference, but it is worth mentioning that he will be the template pick amongst the community. So if you want to go for something a bit different, I think Rice would be a very solid shout. But yeah, in terms of my top 10 captains, you're going to see that list in one of my upcoming videos and the Tuesday deadline stream. But Gabriel will probably be number 1. And Mustafa says next week, Gabriel captain. Hopefully does the business. Nothing spectacular this week with 6 points against Sunderland, but still a return there. Is it worth getting any Wolves players for Gameweek 26 or just roll and keep bench boost chip? I think Mane is the only one, but even then, I'll be honest with you, I think the main reason I'd buy him is just to fund Jurien Timber in my defensive line. So I don't have enough money in the bank to go from O'Reilly to Timber, and so selling Thiago to Mane isn't ideal by any stretch of the imagination, but it would help me make that other move. But it really depends, right? Because if you've got an Ekitike, Thiago, Joao Pedro, I wouldn't really sell those players for Mane. I just wouldn't. And the only reason I'm thinking of doing it is because of Jurrien Timber. So yeah, keep the bench boost chip, and I think Gameweek 33 could be a better time to use that particular booster, and that should be the biggest double Gameweek of the season. So you've got more options, and you could have a stacked squad. Maybe not every single one, in terms of your 15 players will have a double, but it could be a decent amount. Easy says, I'll make 2 free transfers a day early before the Gameweek 26 deadline, just to not forget again. Well, that's fair enough. Everyone has to adapt because of certain situations, and I think those who are outside the UK are at a disadvantage for the most part. It also depends on the region, but yeah, it can be quite complicated with that. Mustafa says, plan is to roll transfer and then do Rice to Verts, as I have the exact money for that. For Gameweek 27, that could be a shout. I talked about Declan Rice before, and I think for the next week or two, which includes Sunderland, I think he was a very good option to buy in the midfield, but after that, I would be more open to selling. But I think against Tottenham and Chelsea, he can produce good returns, and he's very consistent, a big game player with so many routes to points. Keep the bench boost chip, and Wolves player's not worth it. Maybe Mane if you have Guiu. I completely agree there, Mustafa. I echo your sentiments there, and I have the same conclusions, really, with that particular question. Triple captain, then maybe Gabriel. I think for Gameweek 26, yes. Rice would be another solid shout. Jurrien Timber, perhaps. And Victor Gyökeres, who has more goals than any other Premier League player since the turn of the year across all competitions. Just saying. But his minutes are going to be a bit all over the place. He's not going to start every single game. But I think in terms of attackers, Gyökeres is showing some form now, and that is good to see. Kuka says, finally a good week for me. Well, you're always wishing me luck and the people in the chat, so it's good that you've had a bit of that for yourself, and yeah, hopefully it ends in a green arrow, and the same goes for Double Gameweek 26 coming up. Mustafa says, same thanks to Palmer. Yeah, people with Palmer, absolutely fair play. A few captainers as well in the building. He was third in my list, and yeah, I think he's going to be in that conversation very soon again. Enzo should have returned as well, though. Unlucky. He has been very consistent recently, so I'll cut him a bit of slack, but yeah, benching Ekitike for the likes of Enzo and Wilson, that's probably going to bite me in the end, and it probably will be my main gripe of Gameweek 25, but we'll see what happens tomorrow against Man City. Top IK says, hi guys, how much did you score? So good question there. And Mustafa was 73 and 2 to go. And Miguel says 63 at the momento. Not too shabby. That's a pretty good score and probably a green arrow. Also, it depends on the rank, but yeah, I think that's very solid. The same goes for Papa, who says 88 Haaland to go. Well, even if he blanks, it should be 90 points for you, so that is a very healthy score. I wouldn't call Palmer the GOAT. He is a penalty merchant, but yeah, he scored a brace of penalties and obviously an open play goal, and it was an emphatic finish from inside the box. Yeah, I think Palmer just has that high ceiling. We saw him return very well against Wolves last season in Gameweek 2, so he has a great record at the Molineux, and it will probably continue next season if Wolves are still there, which, well, we'll talk about that in a couple of months, really, but I think Palmer just loves playing against them. My top one is Palmer, Pedro, is that Bruno? Mbumo. Yeah, they've all been in great form recently. I think the best asset overall is Bruno Fernandes, though, and he's been on an absolute tear. Only one blank out of the last 8 game weeks. I want Haaland to blank even though I own him. Well, it makes sense. Some people will just captain him, especially those dead teams, and it just makes sense. If he blanks, it's going to actually bode well for you in terms of the effective ownership and your rank. So, yeah, I'm also wishing for the same thing. They said Bruno and Haaland best captain. Well, to be fair, Bruno got 10 points. Haaland, we'll wait and see what he does, but I didn't say Haaland was the best captain. In fact, he wasn't in my top 10 for this week. 76 with Van Dijk and Haaland to play. Took a -4 for Timber. 72 points is solid. Timber's also there for the double. 6 points today. And it's possible that one of Van Dijk or Haaland will return. Probably not both, but yeah, it's looking pretty good for you. You could get close to 80 points with the -4 hit taken into account. Well, I don't really back Haaland to do well, and that could be one of my other regrets, starting him over Ekitike, but I also want to blank him. I want to jinx him. So yeah, if Haaland scores, at least I get some points from it, and if he blanks, then City will probably drop points, which is looking very nice. Who is that free? If you're asking about the top 3 captains I suggested for Gameweek 25, I did say Bruno Fernandes, Joao Pedro and Palmer, so it's not a bad list in my opinion. Jude says, got Alex Jimenez and apparently he got injured. If so, who is the best 4-point family and defender and below? Well, Hill could be a nice like-for-like replacement. He got 7 points against Aston Villa and he only cost 3.9 million, so I think Hill would be a shout as well. 62 with 3 left to play, is that good? Yes, I think it's a good score. And in terms of which players are left, I mean, the quality is very important, but that should be a green arrow. Pen Palmer owners got lucky. Well, that's the thing with Palmer, right? He has scored so many penalties throughout his Premier League career, and that's one of the main assets he has at his disposal, and he's an expert penalty taker. So, yeah, both of them were penalties. João Pedro won both of them, and yeah, I like to, let's say, do a little dig, let's say, but look, a penalty is a penalty. It's a goal still. But yeah, he does rely a lot on them, and that's why over the past year, from open play, he hasn't really done much in this competition. Haaland, Ekitike, and Munoz. Yeah, that's a good trio, in my opinion. I wish I could start Ekitike. Start Krupi or Thiago next game week? Probably Krupi. Nino says, Chow, Gabriel, and Rogers all needed one more defcon or defensive contribution to give me an extra 10 points, like they never got it. FPL and Opta better fix this. Well, it is what it is, right? And sometimes they'll actually adjust it. So by tomorrow, it wouldn't surprise me if one of those players, maybe even 2 of them, ended up getting DEFCON. So that's the benefit of them playing early in the game week. But if a player features towards the end, let's say it's the last match or 2, they're going to be at disadvantage because they might end up getting 10 defensive contributions, but it's not updated by Opta and FPL in time for that to register as FPL points. Bruno Guimaraes is first on my bench. I thought he was injured. Well, I talked about this in my lineups section of my deadline stream yesterday. I thought Bruno Guimaraes would start, and he got a goal and an assist. He scored the penalty, but Brentford still won 3-2 in the end, and he's a quality FPL asset, Bruno Guimaraes, which is why in my recent transfer tips video, which I published on Wednesday, he was highlighted as a hold, despite the injuries and the recent absences. Yeah, that's not going to happen, unfortunately, for you. Both Haaland and Semenyo will play unless something dodgy happens. Are you planning to sell O'Reilly soon? Yes, that's been covered quite extensively in my recent videos and streams. And even in this one, the plan is to sell O'Reilly to Timber, but I need to make a move elsewhere to fund that. So I can't just do it as one free transfer. It requires making 2 moves at the same time. So Timber's going to be the replacement for me. Only thing I'm doubting is playing my 2 Arsenal defenders against Mane, so not sure if it's worth bringing in Mane. I don't think it really is, and the only reason I'd probably buy him in my situation is just to get the funds for Timber. But yeah, Ekitike, Thiago, João Pedro, Haaland, just keep all those forwards. Jarrod Bowen, that's a bit more of a open-minded one. I mean, West Ham won 2-0 and Bowen wasn't involved, which is very surprising. We have seen that happen a few times this season now. Welcome, Baraf. I sold Bruno Guimaraes for Wirtz. We'll see how Wirtz does tomorrow, but I don't think he'll match what Bruno Guimaraes did, at least for this week. But yeah, I do like Bruno Guimaraes long term. That's why I talked about holding him recently. I'll go through expected price changes very soon. Why did I put Van der Ven in the starting 11? Well, it depends, right? There might have been a good reason for it if you ended up starting him over Mukiele or somebody like that. Sam says, seriously, I'm 4 points off number 1 in my mini league. He gets 10 from Zubimendi, 12 from Dallo, tied on 60. He's got Captain Haaland and Ekitike. I've got Semenyo and Haaland. Last week, 11 off the bench for Kanate. Well, luck can swing in people's favour sometimes, but they're not always going to get that luck. So it is what it is, what you described. Yeah, there is an element of luck there for sure. I'm very happy with Dallo finally getting points for me. He has been stinking up the gaff for quite some time. So to get an assist and maximum bonus points, I'm very happy with it. And obviously the Romero red card played a big part in that game. But Zubimendi, someone asked me about him in the recent deadline stream, and he just walks away with points sometimes. He can get these goals, and he's been scoring quite a few crucial ones for Arsenal. So I think Zubimendi is an underrated FPL pick. He's not someone I'd recommend necessarily over Declan Rice. I still think over the course of the season, Rice is by far the superior asset, but I think someone like Zubimendi can walk away with some good returns sometimes. But yeah, Captain Haaland and Ekitike, unless Semenyo does a madness, and he scored a brace against Liverpool earlier this season, yeah, I think the gap will increase a little bit, but it's still manageable. There is plenty of time to claw back, let's say 4 points, or it could be up to 10 by the end of the week. But yeah, we'll see by tomorrow. I have Raya and Timber, but not Gabriel. Yeah, Gabriel's by far the best option for Arsenal for me, and I think that's a way of compensating for it, having a double up in the Arsenal defence if you aren't going for Gabriel, but I'd still recommend him if possible. Is Wilson and Enzo time done? Let's relax a little bit. Wilson has blanked in 2 consecutive games, and this was Enzo's first blank in a while. I think that's very premature. If I were to sell one of them, it's probably Wilson. And for a lot of people, selling him to Rice would definitely make a lot of sense for Double Gameweek 26. And in my situation, let's say, for example, I sell Thiago or Ekitike to a cheaper striker like Krupi or Mane, I can then use those funds to buy Timber for O'Reilly and also buy a Wirtz, Antoine Semenyo, or someone of that ilk in the midfield. Maybe even Bruno Guimaraes, who I've been very bullish on all season. What am I getting for putting player to vice? You're not getting any points for that, but if your captain misses out, your vice captain will become your captain and their points will be doubled, but that's only if your main captain doesn't play a single minute. I just noticed that Ekitike is on your bench. Why? I covered this as well in a lot of detail yesterday and in my team selection video. No matter who I benched, whether it was Rodgers, who ended up scoring, Igor Thiago, who got a goal against Newcastle, Declan Rice, who got DEFCON, Wilson and Wilson and Enzo both blanked, but I think there were good options on paper, so there wasn't really a win-win. I was never going to bench Bruno Fernandes. I was seriously considering benching Haaland, but I think it was a very difficult decision this week, and Ekitike will probably score tomorrow, but it is what it is, and I'm not really expecting anybody to miss out like Haaland to then have that sub take place, but I'd like it to. It's a decent week so far. I wouldn't say a great one. It's a significant rank rise and almost 100,000 places, but yeah, I'll probably go back quite a bit after tomorrow because Ekitike is on my bench. I've got Haaland as my only player, and that's it really. So I'm almost all out. And anything Haaland does won't really gain me anything. So yeah, I'm just going to enjoy the moment, but I am expecting to go down by at least 20 to 30,000 places by the end of tomorrow. Now the cat, Boeing Cat, doing better than us in FPL. Yeah, I think the cat should have a YouTube channel, to be fair. It would do pretty well. 84 Munoz to go. Great score. Not a big fan of Munoz, but he's in my FPL challenge team because of the Palace-Brighton factor. So that looks good. If I had both of them, I would definitely have started Ekitike over Haaland. Well, we'll see how they do tomorrow, right? And maybe Liverpool win, but Haaland scores. But yeah, my prediction is 1-0 Liverpool. I think it'll be a low-scoring affair. 59 free to go. That's solid. The United Strand has one more game before he has his dream haircut. Hopefully West Ham do us a favour and, yeah, humble the United fans a little bit. Easy says he already booked the barber. Imagine United drawing the game. It's possible. It is possible. Why is your squad value so low? My squad value is 105.9 with 1.3 in the bank. Well, that's a lot of money, to be fair. Well, there is an element of buying certain players early, and I did lose a lot of value when I wildcarded, I believe, back in Gameweek 16. And yeah, even with my aggressive move, sometimes I've sold players that I had a lot of value tied up in, and then I lost out on a little bit as well. But yeah, that's a massive difference. I'm not exactly sure why, but there is a difference between purchase prices and selling prices, and that should also be taken into account. But yeah, I think my selling prices would be even lower, actually. Sydney says, I'm having a banger of a game week for both my teams. My main one is on 76 points with Haaland to go. My non-Haaland team is on 79 with a Bruggen, Semenyo and Ekitike left. Yeah, enjoy it, and it's not every day that both your teams do well. I think having one is already enough stress, but enjoy it, Sydney, and I think 80 plus is inevitable. Bruno Guimaraes thoughts? Nothing has changed from what I said before. He's one of the best midfielders in the game. He's now available. We see how important he is to Newcastle, and the fact he took a penalty in Anthony Gordon's absence is also very promising. His underlying numbers aren't great, but he was talked about as a hold in my recent transfer tips. It's going to be the same now. I think Rice should be the priority because of Double Gameweek 26. You've also got Wirtz, Semenyo. I still like Enzo, and plenty of midfielders like Bruno Fernandes and Mbumo, but I think Bruno Guimaraes is right up there with the very best. Yeah, FPL is tough. That is true. It gets tougher and tougher every season. Good to see Bruno Guimaraes back. I won him on my UCL draft. He hasn't been great in UCL fantasy, though. It's kind of weird because Gordon has been brilliant in the Champions League, but awful in the Premier League. With Bruno Guimaraes, it's kind of the opposite, but injuries have also played a factor. Sam says, I really don't like the new FPL assist rules. Pedro owners got super lucky today. I hope they changed it. Sam also says, I have 2 free transfers, similar team as you. Yeah, so as covered today and in my team selection video, the plan is to do O'Reilly to Timber. And to fund that, reluctantly, I'd probably sell Thiago to Mane, but I'm not a big fan of Wolves. They have a double, but that includes Arsenal. And really, it's just about funding Timber, which is the main priority for me. Not looking good for Eddie Howe. He is under pressure, that is true, mainly from social media and Newcastle fans there. I'd say no way, saying hopefully West Ham can do us something, but yeah, I think Man United have struggled at West Ham Stadium recently, but they've also struggled against Tottenham. I think the Romero red card really changed things, but I still backed them for a win. I said 2-1, but yeah, hopefully West Ham can do something. Thoughts on Dewsbury Hall? Big return today and a late comeback by Everton. I think there are plenty of midfielders like Garner, Elliot Anderson, and Harry Wilson who offer great value. Dewsbury Hall's another one who I also had before he got injured, so very unfortunate with the timing there when I bought him around Game Week 16, but yeah, I wouldn't be in a rush to buy him, and I still think Garner will be a bit more consistent. Chelsea destroyed it again for me. Have Sanchez, Chalobah, they conceded again. I don't trust their defence at all. Sanchez has been decent. He's probably the 4th or 5th best goalkeeper in the game, but Ruffs, Pickford and Raya are certainly better. And Chalobah has disappointed in recent match days. I think with Liam Rosenor, you're going to opt for Joao Pedro up front, Enzo Fernandez and Palmer. I think having 2 of them is probably sound. I have Kelleher and Dubravka. Do I need a new goalkeeper? In my opinion, yes. So one of Pickford, Ruffs or Raya would do the trick. And if I'm buying one right now, it's probably going to be Raya. Bournemouth is looking much better in the last couple of matches and they have a good fixtures. Unlucky not getting a win against Villa. That is true. They were looking awful at one point though, so it's not really saying much, the fact that they're looking better now, but I get your point. And Hill at 3.9 million looks intriguing. Krupi Jr. at 4.7. I wouldn't go for anybody else, but I think those two offer great value in their respective positions. Yeah, Enzo captain was very disappointing. He was 5th in my list and I was quite conflicted about him versus Gabriel, but yeah, both of them were a bit underwhelming compared to the other top captaincy options I highlighted. In fact, the top 4 that I talked about all returned, and they did very well. Palmer finally repaid my faith. I bought him weeks ago when barely anyone thought of him as an option. Yeah, I think it was a couple of weeks ago where I added him to the watch list in my transfer tips, and I talked about buying him as a sort of differential, taking money out of the forward line, maybe selling Ekitike, and then buying Palmer alongside Bruno Fernandes. So that has worked very well for you this week, after a few disappointing match days, but yeah, I think Palmer just has that really high ceiling so he can make up after a barren spell like the one he just had. Haaland, Semenyo and Gay, I'm not a big fan of that trio, against Liverpool anyway. Long term, that's fine, and Semenyo is one of the best midfielders in the game. Haaland's still the #1 forward, and probably the best captaincy option later in the season, and Mark Gay was very solid at Palace, not so much at City just yet, but there's still time. Who should I go for, Munoz or Cash? Not a big fan of either, but probably Munoz. Higher ceiling. Newcastle have conceded so many goals recently. That is true. In terms of XGC, they are still 2nd or 3rd in the season behind Arsenal. But yeah, I think they have definitely declined compared to the beginning of the campaign where they were keeping clean sheets, a lot of 0-0 draws and looking more solid defensively. But now that isn't the case. So even the expected goals conceded figure has also dropped quite significantly. Could you do Wilson to Dewsbury Hall to afford Timber? I don't think so, but that is a good suggestion. I'll go into that very soon. But yeah, I bought Dewsbury Hall in Game Week 16 and he got injured literally in that week, so that was quite disappointing. Thank you, Sean, for the super chat. Only Raya from Arsenal currently. How does Hall and Minter to Zubimendi and Timber for the double and beyond sound? So Zubimendi is an underrated option. I think that's a good purchase, but Rice is still my preference, but I do recognise there's a massive difference in price. If you have enough money, I'd still recommend Gabriel over Timber. It is template, but he is the best defender in the game. So Gabriel's one of those players you can just captain, and in 26, I'm very keen on putting the armband on the Brazilian. So depending on your budget, I would say Gabriel and Rice over those two, but I think Rice over Zubimendi is probably stretching a little bit. I recognise that. So Gabriel over Timber would be my recommendation. What do you think of Strand Larson? Early move. He'll probably start for Crystal Palace with Mateta injury and will get plenty of chances. He was in my predicted lineup yesterday. I believe he will start tomorrow. And Yeah, I think that could be a decent shout, but with Palace, I think the only asset I'd consider is Munoz, and even then, I'm not a big fan of that. Sam says, is it worth to make a sideways move Timber to Saliba for Game Week 26? I wouldn't do that personally, and to be honest, Saliba's a bit more nailed on per se, but it's not like a massive difference. Yeah, I did say before that I could see Timber being benched against either Sunderland or Wolves. And looking at the fixtures coming up, I think the FA Cup is obviously going to be Ben White's territory there if he stays fit. And if there was a Premier League game where Timber got a rest, it could be Wolves away. So I get where you're coming from, but I probably wouldn't make the move. I just keep Jury and Timber. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is go through some different screens like the FDR and the potential price changes today, which was requested already. But Cooker says, does it make sense to bring Mane if I have double Arsenal defence? I would only bring in Mane if it gives you enough money to fund another move. Otherwise, it's not worth it. That's pretty much the simple answer to your question. And I'm not going to sort of contradict myself and because I might buy Mane myself, but that's only because it gives me money to buy Timber for O'Reilly. Otherwise, I just wouldn't really be going there. Okay, so let's go to the FDR. And afterwards, I'll be showing you the DEFCON and bonus points. And we should get the updates to the FPL website and app very soon. So from Game Week 26 to 31, Bournemouth are top, Aston Villa, Man City, Fulham and Brentford are in the top 5. And Arsenal, despite having a double in 26, are still 10th because they will blank in Game Week 31. In the bottom 5, we've got West Ham, Wolves, Brighton, Leeds and Burnley. And with predicted points, Erling Haaland is top, Bruno Fernandes is second, with Salah, Ekitike, Thiago, Rice, Gabriel, Mbeumo, Palmer, and Harvey Barnes in the top 10. With projected price changes, Saliba, João Pedro, Bruno Fernandes, and Cucurella could rise tonight. Fernandes just keeps on rising, and his returns have been impeccable recently. With price falls, Igor Thiago, despite the goal today, and a booking, Phil Foden, Pedro Neto, Tavernier, Mikel Merino, and Isidore, who was also projected to drop yesterday. Next up is going to be a sneak preview of what I could do for Double Gameweek 26, but this isn't set in stone, and I might find another route. So someone rightfully pointed out a different way of funding Timber. So if I were to keep Thiago, and I might need to change this or reset this just in case. But yeah, as you can see there, I'm way off it in terms of budget. So going from Wilson to Dewsbury Hall just wouldn't work for me. So I think the best thing for me to do, if I really want to get Timber, is to make a downgrade in my forward line. So we'll reset this a little bit. I would look to bench the Fulham players against Man City. But yeah, O'Reilly is still a sell. And I think Timber would be the one. Maybe a shout for Saliba, but Timber has almost double the amount of points compared to the Frenchman this season. Wilson would drop to the bench, and one of Ekitike or Thiago would make way. Now, this is a tricky one, but I'd probably sell Thiago, and I'm not a big fan of that because Brentford have some good fixtures after Arsenal, and so do Liverpool. And of course, I referred to the FDR just now. Both of them have excellent fixtures, but that is pretty much how it goes. I mean, Ekitike to João Pedro. It is a little bit late in the Chelsea cycle fixtures. They've got Arsenal and Villa back-to-back, Newcastle, Everton, City, United as well. So, as you can see, there's a clear drop-off in Chelsea's fixtures. And I think buying João Pedro by that stage could be a little bit too late. So, yeah, whilst it's not really officially ruled out, I could do that. And even then, I'm 0.3 million over budget. So, yeah, it's not looking great. So, I think what's probably best for me is to just downgrade Thiago. And I can go to Calvert-Lewin, Krupi Jr. or Mane. And that's where I can get the funds. Now, Krupi Jr. would be my preference over Mane. But of course, there's no double here for Bournemouth. But I am really considering this. I think Krupi might even take the spot here of Igor Thiago. And then with 0.7 in the bank going into Game Week 27, I could also start a Fulham player or two. I think Wilson would probably find his way in here, but it's not a guarantee, to be fair. That's decent squad depth. And I could feasibly roll going into Game Week 28, but that is my plan, I think, for Game Week 26. Buying Timber and one of Krupi Jr. or Mane to replace Thiago and O'Reilly. Let's go to FPL Challenge, where I've done fairly well in this format as well. 53 points, but if we refresh this... Well, no, the bonus points haven't been added yet, but I think Palmer's going to get 3, obviously, for scoring a hat-trick. Bruno Fernandes is going to get 2, and no bonus points for Raya or Gabriel. My remaining player is Daniel Munoz, but I could change this, by the way, to another Brighton or Palace player because they will score double points this week in FPL Challenge. And the alternative would be a City or Liverpool player. Maybe I'll go to Ekitike here and enjoy some points whilst he sits first on my bench. So, before I go back to my team and your questions, let's go to this. Yeah. Okay. It's a bit weird. Let's go to that. Yeah. Okay, so probably best to do this then. Go to the fixtures and go here. Okay. Let's go through these games one by one, and we still have 2 games tomorrow to complete Game Week 25. Be sure to drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, the hype button, and all that good stuff. And we are closing in on new goals. 39,000 subscribers is the next objective on the channel. We recently hit 38k, and it's all thanks to your support. And let's grow all the social media platforms. There's my Discord server, a great community to be a part of, talking about FPL and UCL Fantasy. There's also my Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Dylan RCM, and check out my Spotify. Leave a 5-star review there. Join the FPL and FPL Challenge Leagues, and let's go into the Leeds and Nottingham Forest game from yesterday, where Bogle, Calvert-Lewin, Okafor, and Luka scored the goals there. The bonus points were awarded to Gruev, Justin, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Defensive contributions were also awarded to Strauk, Rodon, Elliot Anderson, who has been phenomenal recently in Fantasy Premier League, Murato, and that's it. But still plenty of assets there who secured Defcon. Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes scored there against Tottenham Hotspur. Dallo and Mainu got the assists after that Romero red card. The bonus points were allocated to Dallo. Thank you very much. Bruno Fernandes with 2, and Lisandro Martinez with 1. And no player in this game secured Defcon. In Arsenal's 3-0 win against Sunderland, which sees them 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League table, Gyökeres scored a brace off the bench, and Zubimendi scored a phenomenal goal, hitting the post and going in. It was like an arrow, which opened the lead against Sunderland. It wasn't an easy game for Arsenal, but they got the job done. Martinelli, Trossard, and Havertz with the assists, and Gyökeres got maximum bonus points. Zubimendi with 2, and yeah, Raya and Saliba will get 1 each. So actually, FPL Challenger, you can add another point to that tally there, so not too shabby. Gabriel was quite close, not only in terms of getting bonus points, but also with Defcon. He was 3 away. So Declan Rice secured it just about. Hopefully they don't do anything dodgy there and remove the Defcon. Saliba also secured it, and that's pretty much it for that game. In Bournemouth's 1-1 draw against Aston Villa, and I believe I predicted that scoreline correctly for once. So Rodgers and Rayan scored the goals. Hill and Sancho with the assists. And with the bonus points, they went to Rodgers, who got maximum. Rayan got 2. And Lisandro Martinez, and Martinez, the Argentine goalkeeper, Emi Martinez, got 1. With Defcon, Cook, Hill, Anana, Lucadine were the Defcon merchants, if you will. And in West Ham's 2-0 win against Burnley, Somerville and Tati Castellanos scored the goals, assisted by Diouf and Fernandes. Somerville got maximum bonus points, Diouf got 2, and Hermansen got 1. With defensive contributions, Mateus Fernandes, Mavropanos, Wan-Bissaka, and Somerville completes a very impressive list there for the Hammers. Everton made a late comeback against Fulham, much to my dismay, so starting both Wilson and Anderson just didn't really pay off whatsoever. Dewsbury Hall scored, and as you can see, own goals there by Mikalenko and Leno in a bit of a crazy game. Dewsbury Hall got maximum bonus points, Iwobi got 2, and Garner provided 1 bonus point, but he also got booked. With defensive contributions, Garner has been very consistent. Michael Keane, O'Brien, they all secured it. The same goes for Cuenca. And for the last 2 matches, Wolves 1, Chelsea 3. No surprises here. Cole Palmer, with the hat-trick, secures maximum bonus points. Tolu did score a consolation goal towards the end. João Pedro got 2 assists. Cucurella got 1. And Armstrong provided 1 for Wolves. With the bonus points, of course, apart from Palmer, Tolu got 2 and Caicedo produced 1. With defensive contributions, Caicedo got 20, which is incredible. Chalobah also secured DEFCON, and that is pretty much it, I believe. In Newcastle's 3-2 defeat against Brentford at home, the bonus points went to Bruno Guimaraes, who got 2, but Yana was the one with maximum bonus points. He got a goal, and that was enough to secure 3 bonus points there for him. Dango Ouattara actually got 2, I should say that. Bruno Guimaraes only got 1 bonus point despite scoring and assisting, and he did take the penalty there for the Toonami. With defensive contributions, Adja was the only player to get DEFCON. But we've got 2 matches left. Brighton Crystal Palace, which is the main focus of FPL Challenge this week, and then Liverpool against Man City, which could be pivotal in the title race. So, back to my squad, and it's looking pretty good, and I can't really say that too often. I picked Sanchez over Dubravka, a 1-point swing. Every little helps, I guess. Diogo Dalot is going to get maximum bonus points, so that's 12 from him. Bruno Fernandes with 10 as his baseline score. No bonus points or DEFCON for Gabriel, but 6 is still decent. Declan Rice as well with 5. Joachim Andersen with 1 and Wilson with 2. The big disappointments alongside Enzo Fernandez, but Rodgers will get a 10-pointer there against Bournemouth. Igor Thiago with 5, which is something. I'm not going to complain too much. And Erling Haaland is my remaining player. But the one sort of gripe I've got is benching Ekitike. I could see that backfiring massively. So as long as he doesn't go crazy, I should be good to go. So let's go through the other questions. Dallo the GOAT. I actually was collecting some trading cards and I got his signed card today, literally during the game. So I don't know, it was like a sign. You know, I got that. He got the assist, some FPL points. I'll take it. So thank you very much, Diogo Dallo, because he was absolutely awful for me over the last couple of weeks. If Mbeumo is indeed out, then my whole plans change, says Kuka. Yeah, and the thing is with Mbeumo, he has been very consistent over the last couple of weeks, and he had that month, of course, in October where he won the Premier League Player of the Month award. So we all know his goal-scoring potential, which is superior to Bruno Fernandes, but I still think Fernandes is the go-to option, and really it's a case of complementing him and having 2 United attackers, and it's not really an absolute must, despite their recent form. And yeah, I think West Ham could actually shock people next week, but United are looking good right now. Okay, I'm going through the member questions first, and then I'm going to go from the very top and try to answer everything else in order. Sydney says, Gyökeres seems to be hitting form. Would you consider him as a third Arsenal asset for the double? Yes, I would, and I mentioned that briefly a few minutes ago. The 2 I already have are Gabriel and Rice. The thing is, it's not just the Game Week 26 thing. I think long-term, the double up defensively makes sense with Raya in goal or someone like Timber in that defensive line, but I am tempted by Gyökeres, and there aren't many standout forwards at the moment, apart from João Pedro, but that could change by Game Week 28. Erling Haaland's been off the boil for quite a while. Igor Thiago's been hit or miss over the past 2 months. Ekitike had a purple patch in December, then tailed off, just like Calvert-Lewin, so I think there is a spot for Gyökeres, who has the most goals of any Premier League player since the turn of the year, with 6 across all competitions, so I think that's a good shout. Yo bro, I cooked this week. I got 90 points. It's a very good score, and if you got another player or 2 left, then even better. Would you bring in Bruno Guimaraes for Wilson? I think I would. It's not like a must. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like a priority transfer, like you have to do it now, but it is an upgrade. I do see it that way, so it is a nice move. Does anyone have Hisense TV? That's a very specific question. 70 points though, pretty good. By the way, I don't. I have Samsung. Not a sponsor. Not plugging them. Your points total is 55, not 65. Yeah, the thing is, you've been counting the points that you see on screen, but I'm getting a lot of bonus points. 3 from Rodgers, 3 from Dallo, 2 from Fernandes. Add another 2 because he's my captain. So yeah, I'm not gonna try to like inflate my numbers and lie to make myself feel good. I'm not gonna do that. So hopefully they've refreshed it. No, it's still gonna have to wait a little while, maybe another half an hour there or thereabouts. But they will update the bonus points fairly soon. I've got 65 points this week, and you can check it out by going to websites like livefpl.net and fpl.team, because you can see the updates to your rank before the FPL website updates, which can take a while. Any good replacement for Tarkovsky? Well, apart from Gabriel and Timber, I would probably say Daniel Munoz could be considered, but I'm not really there yet. I think with the defenders, it's kind of slim pickings right now, and that's why I'm so bullish on doubling up on that Arsenal defence. Bench one of Ekatike or Thiago or Elliot Anderson who plays Wolves. I'd bench Thiago. Got 42 points of Ekatike, Haaland, Van Heck to play. It depends on the rank where you're at, and you might have 42 points before bonus points comes in, so maybe it's up to 50. I would say it's okay this week so far. Just for reference, I'm on 65 and I'm 12 points clear of the safety score, so that should be enough for me to secure Green Arrow, but yeah, I think in your situation it might be pushing a little bit, but you've got 3 players left tomorrow, which isn't too shabby, so yeah, you should get to 50 plus points, and if you can get to 60, even better, and that could end up being a decent week. But right now, I'd probably say average or a bit below average, but it depends as well on your rank. Is Palmer's performance this game a one-off? Well, look, he's playing against the worst team in the league. He scored a brace of penalties, but he also scored an emphatic finish to secure the hat-trick. We all know Palmer's ceiling and what he brings to the table. I would say that in the context of this season, it does seem like a one-off, but when you also consider what he did in the past and how he can also rack up goals and assists against teams like Wolves, like he did last season in Game Week 2, then no, it's not really a one-off in terms of looking at his overall trajectory. But I think this season he has been off it because of injuries mainly. But yeah, in terms of like investing in FPL, I wouldn't mind. And personally, I've been advocating over the past couple of weeks to take money out of the forward line and reinvest it into the midfield. And I think Palmer would be one of those players that you can include alongside Bruno Fernandes to create the best possible structure on your wildcard or with free transfers. Ellis Coyle says, I'm up to 1k in the world. What's going on? I thought my luck would run out by now, but it hasn't. It's like a roller coaster, your sentence there, but really good rank. And there's still a long way to go, but that's an incredible position to be in at this stage. And you can even push up even further. So just keep playing the game the way you are. And yeah, just try not to think too much about your rank when making decisions. I think that would be the main way to approach it. I know sometimes people who get to a rank they're really happy with, they want to be more conservative, and that makes sense. And there is a balance to it, but you don't want to start undoing your thought process with captaincy and transfers and strategy just because you want to protect something, because then you're really not allowing yourself to push yourself even further and potentially make an aggressive move which pushes you up into a better rank position. So yeah, very good rank, but it's going to be a very fine balance now, and you've got to be careful, but just keep having fun with it and enjoy the process. Is Rice a good asset from 26 to 31? Yes, he is. For Double Gameweek 26, he does blank in 31, so by that stage you could sell him, but against Tottenham and Chelsea, I think he could do quite well. Already have Timber and Gabriel. If you want to punt on an Arsenal player, I'd say Gyökeres. He's doing really well recently across all competitions. He has scored in back-to-back Premier League games against Leeds and a brace against Sunderland, so I think he'd be a good shout. But otherwise, yeah, I'd say Rice is probably the best way to triple up on Arsenal. Should I go for Munoz or Cash? I prefer Munoz, as covered earlier. Top says, I have Rice, Raya, Timber, but I want Gabriel too. What do I do? I don't think it's worth selling one for the other necessarily. Unless you could do Timber to Gabriel for free, I think it's probably just worth keeping what you have. If Palmer's getting 60 to 70 minutes, Enzo is no longer a great asset in my opinion. Yeah, but he could still be a decent one. He scored against West Ham from a deep position. And look, I was a bit late to the Enzo party. He has done fairly well for me, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. And that's always been on the back of my mind whenever I've invested in Enzo or thought about buying him in. I started Thiago and Ekatike, benched Haaland. I think Haaland will score tomorrow. For me, it's the opposite. I've benched Ekatike. I think he's going to score tomorrow and that Haaland will blank. But yeah, only time will tell, right? And my sort of dream scenario is that Liverpool beat City, Haaland doesn't play, and Ekatike comes off the bench and scores a goal. But yeah, that's asking for way too much there. I'll just take the Liverpool win, thank you. Any Palace assets? Munoz is the only one I'd really consider, and even then it's probably pushing it right now because of his price tag. I have double Arsenal defence, Anderson, Chow. I need someone on the 26th and 31st game week and rotating well. Well, that's the thing though. Crystal Palace will blank in 31, but they're not going to double in 26 with City. We're only going to get Arsenal and Wolves doubling there. So that double should be in 33 or 36. So yeah, apart from Munoz, in terms of the players you mentioned, I'd probably say Hill. I think that's the one I'd go for. Hi, mate. Would you keep DEFCON for next season? Yes, I would. And I've been an advocate for a similar system to ball recoveries from UCL Fantasy for quite some time. I think defensive contributions is that, and it rewards centre-backs and defensive midfielders more, and it gives you more option instead of, oh, I'll pick the fullback because he's got more attacking threat. He'll get more assists. I think it gives another dimension to the game, so I definitely keep it. Who should I sell first, Bruno Guimaraes or Cunha? Bruno Gameweek, what a name. I would rather keep Bruno Guimaraes. I don't think he's a sell, and he proved that today. Mateus Cunha is a decent differential, but I've always kind of ranked him lower than Brian Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes. Although at the beginning of the season, I do admit, I thought Cunha would hit the ground running because Amorim played a very similar system to Wolves and Vitor Pereira. So I thought Cunha would just fit in like a glove, but yeah, I think at this stage, Cunha would be ranked lower than both Bruno Guimaraes and Bruno Fernandes, so I would sell him first. I want to bring in Enzo. I'm not sure about that, to be fair. Chelsea have good fixtures for the next two, but then they face Arsenal, and they've got a poor run. They've got Aston Villa as well. I went through some of the games earlier, and I think at this stage, you probably keep these players. If anything, sell Cunha to a Fernandes, Declan Rice for this week, Antoine Semenyo, Wirtz, Rodgers. I think Enzo is still a good asset, but I'm not sure if I'd sell... Definitely not Bruno Guimaraes, and I was asked this yesterday, would you sell Bruno Guimaraes for a hit for Enzo? And I said no. And yeah, in the end, there was a massive swing between them, but I just don't think it's worth it. On 60 points of Haaland left to play, would have been even better if Palmer didn't play. I have Enzo, Bruno Guimaraes goal and assist too. Yeah, those things were a bit annoying, but I don't think Bruno's ownership, Bruno Guimaraes's, just to be very clear, it's not that high, so even his returns didn't affect our ranks too negatively, but obviously it's still going to drop you down by a few thousand places, which isn't ideal, but it could be worse. I benched Emi and started Kelleher. I can never guess the right goalkeeper. That's why I recommend having one set and forget, and then a backup like Dubravka, who you could start on the odd occasion, but I think it's better just to have one fixed goalkeeper, and only once this season did I have a massive goalkeeper swing against me, and that's when I benched Dubravka, and that can happen, right? Maybe once or twice in a season, but when you've got two somewhat expensive goalkeepers, let's say, it can go the other way around. But yeah, to be fair, I probably would have said start Emi, but I didn't expect either to keep a clean sheet, and they didn't. But Emi got some bonus points, which obviously helped him this time. And I think both of them pale in comparison to Rufs, Raya, Pickford, and maybe even Sanchez. So if you are wildcarding soon, I would just go to one of those goalkeepers and have Dubravka as the backup. I think that's the best way to approach it. Yeah, Dewsbury was a real option for me, says Kuka. He's getting a lot of love recently, and people were asking me about him in the deadline stream yesterday, which I completely understand, but I wouldn't be in a rush. And if you have Ghana, and I said this with Ndai recently as well, I just don't think it's worth selling Ghana to one of those players per se. Even Dewsbury Hall, who can provide some good returns at 5 million. Hi Dylan, what do you think about a -4 hit and transferring Bowen and Wilson out, Joao Pedro and mid from Bournemouth, Tavernier or Rayan? Not really feeling it, and the thing is with Tavernier, he's still injured, and he's missed the last couple of matches. I think he should be back in a couple of weeks' time, so we're looking at Gameweek 27. But yeah, I'm not really sure about these transfers. I think selling Bowen and Wilson makes sense, but Joao Pedro for the next two looks good, and he's fixture-proof, so that's good. I think that's a solid move, but a Bournemouth midfielder? No, not for me. The only Bournemouth players I'd really recommend are Krupi Jr. and Hill. I might go Thiago to Ekitike. I think that makes sense, and in an ideal world, I'd probably keep Ekitike for the time being. Yeah, Gyökeres isn't guaranteed in terms of minutes. Havertz is there, although he's played mainly in the midfield recently, and Gabriel Jesus has also started a few games, but I think Gyökeres will get one start in Double Gameweek 26 minimum, and with the recent form, I think Gyökeres could score 2 or 3 goals in that double. Is Tarkowski a sell or not? The thing is, I don't think he's a sell per se. I think he's more of a hold, but if he's your only route to get a Gabriel or Timber, I'd make the switch. I think that's a massive upgrade. Bruno Fernandes should have had at least an assist. Sesko, worst miss of this game week. Yeah, Sesko, look, he's young, he's raw. He's had a few moments here and there, like the goal against Fulham, but yeah, that was a horrible miss. And Bruno Fernandes has been excellent this season, especially over the past couple of weeks. But remember how things started when he missed a few penalties and people were saying Bruno Fernandes is crap, why are content creators recommending him? But there's a reason, and over the course of the season, it kind of evens out a little bit. And yeah, we all know his quality. I'm going to whiz through these now because I'm going to try my very best to answer questions. If I have answered one, though, already, I'll skip it just for the sake of repetition. I don't know what to do with Ndai, really. I bought him after AFCON. 0 returns, and I see Wilson, Dewsbury Hall, Dango and all. Dango, not so much. I think he's been very inconsistent, and he's not a guaranteed starter, especially when Brentford switched to a back three, although admittedly that hasn't happened too often recently. There's also Garner and Elliot Anderson at a similar price. I think you're right to highlight Dewsbury Hall. He would be the flavour of the week at the moment, and people are very bullish on him. But yeah, Ndai, I talked about this recently. I had him earlier this season, and I was very infused with his consistency. But he's not even getting DEFCON now, and you're relying on penalties at this moment in time. So yeah, I think Ndai's a skip, which was also talked about in my recent Transits podcast. Sell Enzo for Palmer. Enzo is a bit more nailed on, which might sound crazy, but Palmer's ceiling is definitely higher. I'd probably say yes. I think Palmer will start the next couple of Premier League matches, so out of the next 5, I think he'll start 4 of them. And I think with Enzo, he'll play a deeper position more often than not. Is it worth bringing in Alex Scott from Bournemouth? I don't think so. Once again with Bournemouth, 2 players I'd recommend, Krupi Jr. and Hill. Is Bruno Guimaraes good to bring in? He is good to bring in, but you don't need to rush for this week necessarily. But yes, he is definitely good to bring in at this stage. Is captaining Gabriel on Double Gameweek 26 a risk with potentially both matches he could concede? Well, that's up to you, right? If you think Arsenal won't keep a clean sheet in either game, then don't captain him, because then you're relying on a goal from a set piece, which Arsenal are very good at, especially Gabriel. But yeah, I think the bulk of the captaincy debate and of the appeal is because of the clean sheet. So if you're not really backing Arsenal for that, then look elsewhere. I personally think Arsenal will keep one, and I think Wolves away is more likely. I think against Brentford they'll probably concede, but that's just my current prediction. That could also evolve over time. Got Ekitike and Wirtz plus Haaland left. How many points do you think they will get? I think one of those players will score. So I'm going to say 10 plus. Maybe, let's say... I'm going to say 12 points. So I think maybe Ekitike gets 8 and the others get 2. Something like that. Yo, Dylan, I knee-jerked and benched Rodgers for Krupi. I don't really blame you for that. And in many situations, yesterday I talked about starting Krupi. And whilst that advice worked last week, it didn't this time round. So I don't really blame you for doing that. But yeah, I had a good feeling about Rodgers. I didn't want to bench him despite a lot of algorithms having him as the lowest scoring player alongside Harry Wilson. But it looks like the algorithms were correct. I think benching Wilson for Ekitike would have been the best play for me. But it is what it is, right? Even Enzo blanked and he was highly regarded this week. Yeah, Victor Gyökeres, I like, as mentioned before. Hope everyone did great today. I think I may get an Arsenal forward. Well, if you're getting an Arsenal forward, it's going to be Gyökeres, right? In the midfield, Rice, maybe Zubimendi look good, but yeah, forwards, Jesus will have his moments. But I think Gyökeres is in a purple patch, you could say. He's got 3 goals in the last 2 Premier League matches, 6 goals in 2026. Looking pretty good. 42 points of Ekitike, Van Heck and Haaland still to play, covered. I am very pleased to have put Palmer's captain. Whenever a captain scores a hat-trick, you're going to be pleased, right? I started Van der Ven, Diouf and Bruno Guimaraes on the bench. Oh dear. Yeah, that isn't great, to be fair, but I'm not sure what your situation was. I mean, if you were starting 4 defenders, I would have said start Bruno Guimaraes over Van der Ven and bench Diouf as well. So yeah, sometimes this happens, you can get a lot of bench points and you kind of kick yourself and think, oh, what if I played the bench boost? But it is what it is, right? I would sell Enzo to Anderson to afford Timber. That's not a bad shout. That's actually pretty good. If I look at my current squad, let's go to FPL.team and play around with this a little bit. So if I did Enzo to Anderson, I'm not sure if I would have enough. Maybe I would. And then Krupi Jr. to Thiago. I think I'm a little bit short. Now, when did I buy Thiago? This might need another reset, just to save a bit of time. Okay, so Enzo to Anderson. And let's go O'Reilly to Timber. Yeah, that's a very good shout. I have the exact funds for this. Not too bad, eh? And I think in the future, though, I would still sell one of Thiago or Ekitike to then upgrade Wilson. And that could be to Wirtz, to Antoine Semenyo, Brian Mbumo, you know, these types of players. I think that could work. But yeah, that's a pretty good suggestion as well. I appreciate it. That would definitely be something a little bit different, but I'll be honest, for Gameweek 26 specifically, I would prefer Enzo over Thiago. And then Wilson away to Man City. Not terrible, but I'm not really backing a return there. And with the captaincy, probably Gabriel. And I'll talk about that closer to the deadline, but yeah, that's my current thinking. Let's go back to this team. And also to your questions, drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, let's keep on growing the social media platforms, and I'm going to keep on whizzing through the questions, but there's a lot to get through, despite it being a Saturday night. Adrian says, I failed today. Well, 51 points. I wouldn't say that's a failure. And if you've got players tomorrow, that could easily turn into 60 or 70 points. Why is Timberelli getting attacking returns now? Well, he is a right back, mate. I mean, yeah. Why is he not getting attacking returns now? I mean, if we look at FPL, yeah, the last assist was against Aston Villa in Gameweek 19. Yeah, I think he got a lot of them towards the beginning of the season. But Timber's never been great with his attack. He's one of the best defensive fullbacks in the world, and I think he's added more to his game going forwards this season. But yeah, he's not really someone I look at and think, yeah, he's got him for the attacking returns. It's mainly for the clean sheets, and yeah, I'm still looking at buying him in. I wouldn't be surprised if he got something against Wolves or Brentford in terms of goals or assists, but yeah. Anderson hasn't blanked for 11 games. He has been brilliant. He has been really consistent. Yeah, Rye does get one bonus. I'm going to go through that very soon. Thanks for that. I'm pretty sure you posted this message around the time that I covered my FPL Challenge squad, so I appreciate it. Black Shadow says, already did my transfers. Gabriel in for Van Dijk. Dallo in for Tarkovsky. Gabriel, great transfer. I think Dallo's reactionary, and I don't trust Manchester United defensively, despite the clean sheets against Man City and Tottenham Hotspur. And I think against West Ham they will concede, to be fair, but hopefully not from an FPL perspective anyway. I would like West Ham to ruin their party a little bit. Hey man, Dorgu to Saliba, 1 free transfer, triple Arsenal defence, or Dorgu to a 4.3 million or under, and Wilson to Rice. I would go for the Rice option and then Hill to replace Dorgu. But good question. 2 free transfers? Yeah, looks good. DCL clears Haaland. Recently, yes, but that's not really saying much. And to be fair, Calvert-Lewin has also blanked quite a lot until that game against Forest yesterday. I bought in Saliba for Chow for his double gameweek. Yeah, that makes sense. I think Saliba's okay. He'll probably get a 6-pointer in one of those matches and maybe 8 points minimum. But you never know. I mean, maybe Arsenal will concede a goal in both games and hopefully not. But yeah, I think they will keep a clean sheet, and from now until the end of the season, I think they can get to 18 or 20 clean sheets overall, and David Raya could win his 3rd consecutive Golden Glove. Hi Dylan, have Gabriel and Timber and Rice ready for double gameweek and Pickford as goalkeeper. Thinking about replacing one of the Arsenal assets with Raya. What do you think? That's not necessary. The only one I'd consider selling, if anything, would be Timber, just because there might be a slight concern that he doesn't start both matches in Gameweek 26, but I wouldn't do that. Yeah, I agree there, Papa. I think that's a bit of a waste. I predict Arsenal 3-0 against Sunderland, Man United 2, Spurs 1, and Wolves 0, Chelsea 2. Oh yeah, that was the other game I got right. Chelsea 3-1. And you might be thinking, yeah, you're bullshitting, Dylan. Let's go through that. So these are my scoreline predictions for the week. You can see my remaining games for tomorrow as well. So I said Leeds 2, Forest 1. It was 3-1 to Leeds. Manchester United 2, Tottenham 1. So I had the same prediction as Affair. Arsenal 2, Sunderland 0. So I was a goal off there. 1-1 between Bournemouth, Aston Villa. Tick. West Ham 2-2. Well, the West Ham goals were correct, but yeah, not the result. Fulham 1, Everton 1. All very, very close there. Wolves 1, Chelsea 3. That's good. Newcastle, I got the wrong result. But for tomorrow, Brighton 2, Crystal Palace 2. And Liverpool 1, Man City 0. So, yeah, we'll see how I do in the end. But, yeah, 2 correct scoreline predictions. I'll take that. Not too shabby. And, yeah, Chelsea unfortunately let me down with a clean sheet. But not too surprised there. Let's now go to my FPL squad again. 63 points of Haaland left. That's looking solid. 85 points, Captain Palmer. Semenyo and Haaland to play. Last week I Captain Palmer, by the way. Yeah, so he let you down last time, but at least he did the business this time and he made up for it. So, yeah, 90 plus points is imminent for you. Hi, Dylan. What do you think about my team for the next 3 to 4 games? Sanchez, Gabriel, Timber, Cash, Enzo, Palmer, Captain. Okay, Mbeumo, Rice, Semenyo, Haaland, Mane, Raul, Anderson, Esteve. I wouldn't captain Palmer over Arsenal players personally, but I get it. And obviously, after scoring a hat-trick, you're going to be very bullish on him. I mean, in terms of single gameweek options, Palmer would definitely stand out, and you're going to see him ranked very highly in the captaincy rankings very soon. So, yeah, I think that's a good shout. Solid team, and not much needs to be changed. But Bruggen to Raya or Bowen to Gyökeres? I am very tempted by the Gyökeres one, I'm not going to lie to you. The Bruggen to Raya is like a undisputed upgrade, I should say, for the rest of the season. And that could be your goalkeeper until you get to the summer, and then you start chilling a little bit. But I do like the Gyökeres punt with his recent form in mind. I'm probably going to save a Bruggen to Raya because I'm boring when it comes to FPL. Tarkowski to Munoz for free. I don't see a massive difference between the two. Probably. So some of these questions have been answered, but now I don't have the... Yeah, I can't see which ones I've gone through already, so I'm going to have to navigate this. Yeah, best 4.4 million defenders. I think Hill would be up there just as a budget defender. I think Alderete is still sound at Sunderland, and apart from that, there aren't really too many great options. Yeah, finally, Dalot gave us big points. I think that was sort of overdue, but I wouldn't expect too many more. And against West Ham, I think he'll blank. My badge thing has changed for mod, says Twisted Parky. Yeah, I think that's a new thing then from today. Yeah, YouTube have made a few modifications recently with the interface, but good to see you there, as always. I took a -4 to get rid of Rodgers after many blanks. FPL heritage, what more can I say? Hello to official football. Praveen says I got Virgil, Gabriel, Timber, Chow, Michele at the back, Bruno Guimaraes, Garner, Bruno Fernandes, Rice, Enzo as midfielders, and Ekitike Haaland up front. 1.2 million, 1 free transfer. Should I sell anyone or roll? I think you're good. You've got the best triple up in Arsenal on paper. I think the defense could do with a little tweak maybe, but even then I don't think it's absolutely necessary. The midfield is looking solid. I don't think that needs any changing. And up front, I think Ekitike Haaland is pretty sound. So yeah, I think rolling is absolutely reasonable. Safety score is 44. Aren't you on a green arrow by a 21-point margin? It does change depending on your rank. So the overall safety score, or maybe your safety score, will be 44. But yeah, at my rank, I think I'm 12 points clear. At least that's what I saw the last time I checked. Maybe now it's a little bit different, but I would have to check and have a look. But yeah, ultimately it's a good week so far. I'm not going to complain, but I've only got one player left tomorrow, and I'll probably go down a little bit. But hopefully still in the top 200k. First Prem player to score 3 first-half hat-tricks. That's Palmer, right? Yeah, he's got 4 Premier League hat-tricks overall as well. Any Salah owners in here? He could do well tomorrow. The shield is pretty cool, though, says Weiseng. Yeah, it's different. I would probably have it a bit higher. That's just me being a bit nitpicky, I guess. After bonus points, though, says Official. Yeah, I'll go through that soon. We should have the bonus points any second now. Yes, the bonus points are in. So as you can see, 65 points for me. Dalot 12. Bruno Fernandes with 10. So 20 as my captain. Rodgers got maximum bonus points. The rest didn't get any. But yeah, a few returns there from Gabriel, Rice and Thiago. Got my first ever goalkeeper pen save in EFL Fantasy. EFL. 1.3k now. I've had goalkeeper saves, but I can't remember the last one. I would have to dig deep for that. Enzo's a good asset. Lots of shots, and he's on pens whenever Palmer's not on. Yeah, I agree. I think people are probably getting a bit spoiled because he was in great form recently, and I think with Palmer, he's going to get the bulk of the big chances, and we saw that massive return today. Yeah, 61 points is good, and at 800k, yeah, that should be a comfortable green arrow. Next week, I'm going to captain Gyökeres. With his recent form, I think that's a very solid suggestion, and I think he could do very well. I'd probably back him to score a goal or two in 26. Hopefully he can deliver. Jason Phillips says, hi Dylan, I have Dubravka, Donnarumma, Gabriel, Timber, Chalobah, Van de Ven, Cash, Rogers, Palmer, Enzo, Garner, Rice, Haaland, Thiago, Mane. Yeah, so long term, I would suggest Donnarumma to Pickford or Roofs in your situation. I think up front, I would be tempted with a move, but it's not absolutely necessary. 2 transfers in hand, that's fine. But I think for 26, you don't need to make a transfer right now. I mean, the one sort of gaping hole, the one player you're missing is Bruno Fernandes, I think, and Man United coverage in general. So I think Fernandes could be that. I'm not sure about your money in the bank, but something you might want to consider is something like Donnarumma to Roofs. Even Chalobah could be downgraded to Hill, and then you can use those funds to buy Bruno Fernandes up front, or in the midfield, I should say. But then it's a bit awkward because who do you sell? And that's where even Thiago to Kripke Jr. would probably be a bit simpler for you if you really want to force in Bruno Fernandes. Honestly thinking about doing Enzo to Palmer and Haaland to Ekitike. I see Ekitike outscoring Haaland in the next couple and City blanking in 31. Yeah, that could be a very differential shout. The thing is with Haaland, he's been off form for quite a while now, and I would back him to start scoring again, and it could happen over the next couple of weeks. And you just know that whenever you bench Erling Haaland, or you consider selling him, it can massively backfire, right? But yeah, I think it's a good set of transfers you're looking at. And with Palmer's hat-trick today, I can understand why people are gravitating towards that. But Enzo's still a solid choice. Haaland's the best striker in the game. But obviously you're backing Ekitike to outscore him. Today just proved that if Palmer starts, Enzo's a bad asset. It's one game. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, maybe long-term you're proven right, but we've seen both of them start as well before. Enzo scored the winner against West Ham, and there are other examples where they can both haul in the same match, and Enzo can deliver regardless. But I won't lie to you. When Palmer's not there, Enzo's the main penalty taker. He plays further forward, so yes, he's more enticing as an FPL option, but it doesn't mean he's a bad option now. I think that's probably a bit too reactionary. So yeah, this question was covered. My advice was not to take the hit for a Bournemouth midfielder. Twisted Parky says Defcon has to stay. This season has been annoying with permanent captain Haaland and people having a lot of the same picks. Without Defcon, even smaller players. Smaller pool of players. Wow, it's been late. Yeah, I agree. And it's a good thing now that Haaland has been off form because we're going for different captains. But Bruno Fernandes is now the template pick. So you've got him and Joao Pedro. There's something in terms of a debate. But yeah, I think having more option and variety is going to be a good thing for the game. Ismail Assar, best differential in my opinion. Brighton away, Burnley at home and Wolves at home. On paper, that looks very promising, but I think with Palace, yeah, they've been very inconsistent, and Sarr has been quite frustrating this season. And I remember buying him. He scored against Villa, then got injured, and yeah, he was a bit of a mess there. But yeah, Sarr always delivers good numbers in terms of XG, big chances, and he can score plenty of goals. He's fixture-proof. I think with Sarr, though, oddly enough, he probably does better sometimes against the tougher teams compared to the opponents you just mentioned. We need differential bonuses now. Yeah, even something like for key passes, like for Club World Cup Fantasy, maybe, I mean, with Sky, you had pass completion and stuff, you had passing tiers. Maybe that's a bit too far, but I think that'd be good for the game with big chances created or at least key passes. How many blanks and doubles? So Gameweek 26 is a double, as we all know. Gameweek 31 will be a blank. There should be one more blank in this season, which is probably Gameweek 34, and 2 more doubles in 33 and 36, but I will keep you updated on that. 46 points and sell Haaland and Ekitike. My rank now 15k, and I am from Egypt. Yeah, Egypt has one of the biggest populations in terms of FPL. I think it's top 5, and maybe Salah has a big say in that. But yeah, 46 points is I wouldn't say great this week, but not terrible, and the rank is definitely very solid. I mean, 15k is a incredible position to be in, so keep it going. When Gameweek should we use all chips with at least 14 games to go? Every situation is different, but my advice is to kind of save most of them for after Gameweek 30 because, as I just mentioned, yeah, we're getting the majority of those doubles and blanks after 30, so it makes sense. Apparently Mbumo might be injured. Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that, and maybe he'll be covered in my upcoming Transfers podcast with more information. Hi, Dylan, would you bench Mbumo or Rodgers for Mane next game week? I'll be honest, I'd bench Mane. I think you'll blank against Arsenal, and then it's Nottingham Forest away. So, yeah, that's my advice. Bench Mane. Haaland captain, says Abdil. Yeah, we'll see how he does tomorrow. I'm not really too optimistic about him, but it is Haaland. Can we bench boost in a double game week? Of course you can, which is what most people do over the years. And I think game week 33 could be the standout individual game week to use that bench boost because it should be the biggest double game week of the campaign. Thoughts on Ekatike over Bruno? For captaincy, I don't think I'd do that personally. I think out of those two, it would be Bruno. With the form he's in as well. Ekatike scored a brace against Newcastle, but before that, he went quite a few games without scoring or delivering at all. Somerville over Wilson. He has been in great form, Somerville. I'd still lean towards Wilson, but I understand why you are asking that question. Is Palmer or Wirtz the better pick from 26 onwards? Well, Wirtz is cheaper, but I'd probably say Palmer. And the thing is, Chelsea's fixtures do turn for the worse very soon. Liverpool have superior games on paper, so that's what I would say. Yeah, I agree. Gyökeres isn't nailed, but he scored a brace off the bench. You can score even with limited minutes. Sell Tarkowski and O'Reilly. Definitely O'Reilly. I've been saying that for a while. Tarkowski isn't a must-sell. Yeah, Somerville is promising. I completely agree. My opinion is that we should pay attention now to 2-3 young players and maybe have them at least on the bench. Ryan, Castellanos, Dango, Ouattara. Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of budget picks in each position this season. You've got Hill, Krupi Jr. Not all of them have to be necessarily young per se, but yeah, there is quite a lot of value to be had. Even Elliot Anderson from Forest has been brilliant recently. I had Gabriel, Timber, Chalobah, Rice, and Mbumo, Bruno, Rodgers, Enzo, Haaland, Pedro, 69 points with Verbruggen and Haaland to go. Yeah, great score and decent players left. I don't think Brighton will keep a clean sheet, and we'll see what Haaland does tomorrow, but yeah, I think Liverpool get the job done. Any advice to replace Bowen? Already have Haaland and Thiago. Well, if you want a differential punt, I'd probably say Gyökeres up front, but yeah, apart from that, you're looking at Joao Pedro or Ekatike, I think. And for Wilson, I think... Am I Mourinho? I think. Sarr, Cherky, or like you said, downgrade Bowen to Krupi, and then Wirtz or Semenyo. Yeah, if you wanted to go for a similarly priced midfielder, probably Sarr, but my advice is to go to Krupi Jr. and Semenyo long term. I feel like I prepared for triple captain and an Arsenal double game week, but I feel like oh, you've corrected this. But I really don't know if I may get a great performance elsewhere. Got to look at fixtures to target again. So at the moment, it's not set in stone. I'm looking at triple captaining in 36. So what I'll probably do is wildcard around game week 30 or 32. Maybe free hit in 31 or 34. Bench boost in 33 and triple captain 36. But I am open-minded. Yeah, I think Gabriel triple captain is a solid choice, but I'm more inclined to save it for either 33 or 36, to be honest. What to do with Wilson? Well, he has blanked in 2 games in a row, if I'm not mistaken. Let's have a look. Yeah, I still think Wilson's been very consistent. And yeah, the last 2 matches have been disappointing, but I don't think he's a must-sell. I mean, against Man City, I'll be honest, I would like to bench him, but he could score against them or do something. I don't think that's out of the question here. So we are making progress now. I've almost caught up really with the questions and stuff, so I'm going to keep on going. And yeah, I've already gone through the FDR, a few stats as well, projected price changes, and we could see quite a few tonight, including Bruno Fernandes again. So yeah, with Wilson, I think what I'd probably say for most people, especially if you have enough money, is to upgrade him to Rice. And then you have the other midfielders like Rodgers, Semenyo, Wirtz. Even Enzo I still like. Bruno Fernandes is the priority. We'll see with Mbumo because he could be injured. And the other one is probably going to be Palmer, but that would be a massive difference. And that would require something like Ekitike to Krupi Jr. to then have the funds necessary. But yeah, Dewsbury at 4.9 is definitely appealing. You've also got Garner, Elliot Anderson. They're all solid choices in their own right. But I think Anderson would be my preference at the moment. Would you recommend selling Wilson and Richards for Mbumo and Hill/Goodmanson for a -4? Well, Mbumo could be injured, so I would be quite careful about that. Don't pull the trigger just yet. I would go to Hill over Goodmanson personally. And overall, I would say yes, but only if Brian Mbumo is fit. Otherwise, just stick with Declan Rice or one of those midfielders I just mentioned. I can get Gabriel by either doing Chal and Nunes to him and Hill, or Chal and Ekitike to him and Joao Pedro. Which one? Yeah, I'd probably say Chal and Nunes to Gabriel and Hill. The Ekitike to Joao Pedro move isn't bad, but I prefer the Nunes or the Chal move to Hill. Roofs, Timber, Gabriel, Chalobah, Semenyo, Mbumo, Bruno, Rice, DCL, Haaland, Joao Pedro, Dubravka, Garner, Van der Ven, Chal. Might have to sell Mbumo, can't get Munoz now. After 25, might sell Semenyo, Timber, Rice. I'm guessing after 26 you mean, but yeah, fixtures and blank unless using a chip. Yeah, Mbumo is just a wait and see, but that is obviously, it would be a big blow for Manchester United and also for our FPL teams, or at least your one. So yeah, definitely a wait and see there, and an awkward situation to be in, but you do have enough squad depth, I think, to manage for this week. But yeah, your triple up in Arsenal is already secured, and then you're looking at selling one or two of them, which is absolutely understandable, but yeah, I think I'd still keep Rice and Semenyo personally, but I understand if you want to go in a different direction. No worries, Desasa. Another Palmer captain in the house. Fair play. Enjoy the points. Is Zubimendi good for double gameweek with Kai and Saliba? Yeah, Havertz has been in good form. I think he's got 5 goals and assists combined over the last 4 matches in all competitions, but I'll be honest, my favourite 3 Arsenal players in FPL are Gabriel, Rice and Timber in that order. And if you want a differential, it'd be Gyökeres up front with his recent form. I think Raya in goal is solid, and he could be a set-and-forget goalkeeper. The options you have are decent, and they could have their moments. But I think the ones I mentioned are more consistent in FPL terms. Would you consider using triple captain on Gabriel Timber next week? Yes. Will I do it? Probably not. Thanks, mate. Woldu says wake up, and he's talking there to Twisted Parky. Good to see people in the community engaging there. Frankie says 61 with Haaland, Semenyo and Lacroix left, hoping for 5 minutes for Haaland with no goals. Well, I'm hoping Haaland doesn't play at all. Ekitike comes on, scores the winner, Liverpool win. Well done, Frankie, and Arsenal are top of the league. But yeah, let's wake up. My team for double gaming: Verbruggen, Saliba, Gabriel, Keane, Rice, Rodgers, Bruno, Palmer, Enzo, Haaland. Thoughts? Not a big fan of Verbruggen, but I think the rest is in good shape. Yeah. You've got Palmer in there, which is good. Only one striker in Haaland, but you don't really need a second or third per se. I'm fine with it. I think the midfield is the strongest aspect of your team, and you've got 2 Arsenal defenders already, so you're all set, in my opinion. And you shouldn't see Gabriel and Saliba rested, but it wouldn't completely surprise me. I'm not going to lie to you, especially with Saliba, but we'll wait and see. Yeah, I think the most likely transfer for me would be Jurrien Timber. Now, something a bit cheeky I could do is Ekitike to Gyökeres, but I don't want to jinx him. I mean, Gyökeres is doing just fine without me having him. I don't want to jinx the guy's form, but yeah, I think Timber's the most likely for O'Reilly, which is a weak link in my team, and I would need to make a move elsewhere to fund it, so that's where Thiago to Krupi Jr. or Mane could come into play. Anderson not blanking even with his team losing games. DEFCON changes things, which is why I think he should stay next season. Hopefully see you in 15 minutes. If not, thanks Dylan for the stream. No worries, Mr. Parky. Yeah, I'll go for more questions and we'll see where we're at. But yeah, these reaction streams typically are a bit shorter. And yeah, hopefully people are enjoying it. If so, like, subscribe, hype, hit the notification bell and all that good stuff. I have 59 points of Haaland and Ekitike to play. Yeah, good score. And I wish I had Ekitike starting, but I don't. Wake Up says Raya, Chalobah, Gabriel, Captain, Richards, Enzo, Rice, Bruno, Wirtz, Joao Pedro, Mane, Haaland, On the bench, Dubravka, Wilson, Esteve, Mukiele. Yeah, bench order and starting 11 is in good order. I think that's absolutely fine. With only one free transfer, you've got 3 Arsenal players already. You've got Mane, who I'm not a big fan of, but he doubles. I think that's fine for Game Week 26. But I think long term, I would advise investing more money in that defensive line. I know you've got Gabriel and Chalobah, but then you've got Richards, who's 4.4, 4.5. You've got Esteve and Mukiele as well, at a similar price tag. And Esteve is like 3.8, 3.9. So, yeah, my advice is to invest more money in that defense. And that's when Munoz could come into play. And I think after Chelsea's fixtures turn for the worse, you could even replace Chalobah. But I think I'd probably upgrade Esteve from these players, actually. One free transfer, I can only bring in Timber for Virgil or Saliba, Calafrio for Keane. What's best for a third Arsenal? The thing is, Liverpool have good fixtures coming up, but defensively they are quite inconsistent. I think the best thing for you to do is probably Timber for Virgil. What I'm quite conscious, though, is that for Double Gameweek 26, I think Saliba's more likely to start both games than Timber. That doesn't mean I would recommend buying Saliba over Timber for the long term or selling Timber for Saliba. I think that isn't really worth it. But on top of that, you've also got Michael Keane. What happens when Mikalenko's available? Will Branthwaite then shift to centre-back and then Mikalenko comes in and Keane drops to the bench? I think that's possible in the future. And I think Van Dijk can still be a decent FPL option at times. But I think Timber for Virgil is probably best. Keep Keane for now, and if he starts getting benched, then you address it when the time comes. But yeah, I think that's the best way to go about it. King Kai says, I think they should keep DEFCON, but make some changes, like making it possible to get multiple sets of DEFCON points and or change the amount needed for each position. I think it should be consistent with all players, so it's either 10 or 12, but people get confused because midfielders and forwards need to have 12 defensive contributions to get those DEFCON points. Defenders need only 10. And then, as you say, if Caicedo gets 20, like he did today against Wolves, he should get extra DEFCON points. I think that adds another dimension to the game. But yeah, I think that's a good suggestion there. I'm not a big fan of Munoz Ricardo, but he's got good fixtures coming up. We know the potential of the player, the ceiling, and I think he could be a good Tarkowski replacement. And if you're not buying Gabriel, Timber, Saliba, I think investing in a premium defender like Munoz could definitely pay off, but I need to see a bit more from Palace defensively first, and against Brighton tomorrow, I think they will concede. Start Dubravka or Kelleher, says Sydney, and Dubravka over Bruggen. Yeah, it would be Dubravka for me. As for the second question, yeah, it's not clear-cut. Yeah, it's probably going to be Dubravka still. I think all of them will concede, though, to be completely frank. 51 points of Semenyo, Haaland, Ekitike as captain to go. Quite happy with that. Yeah, I think that's decent. I think I'm going to triple captain Gabriel in 26. It's a solid choice. I'm probably going to save it for 33 or 36 myself, but I think if you were to triple captain a player this week, I think Gabriel's the safest pick, or one of the safest. I think there could be some single gimmick players you can match or rival him, like Palmer, Bruno Fernandes, but yeah, you'd always favour the doubler, I think, or in most situations. 46 points. Yeah, cover this one. Thank you very much. Selling Haaland to Gyökeres? No. Not for me. It's like they reversed a little bit this year. Gyökeres has 6 goals. I think Haaland has 2 across all competitions, but yeah, I still wouldn't do that. It helps me do Wilson to Bruno Fernandes. I mean, yeah, that's a great upgrade, but I just don't think it's worth selling Haaland to Gyökeres. Now, I have been very consistent on this. If you are looking for a differential forward in 26, I think Gyökeres is the one, but his minutes won't be that secure. I think over the next 3 Premier League matches, he starts 2, and he gets benched in the other. I wouldn't triple captain Gyökeres in 26, but he will be quite highly ranked in my captaincy list, that's for sure. And that brace today, I think, has changed people's perceptions about him. Not just Arsenal fans, but also, I think, rival fans as well. Are you going for Palmer this week? Probably not. My priority is to get a third Arsenal player in. But what I'll probably do in the future is, as part of the sort of move of downgrading Thiago and Ekitike, I think selling one of them to get Krupi or Mane, That will help me also buy Palmer in the midfield, but yeah, at the moment, I think it's probably a wait and see. Reacting to 26 before it even happens. Yeah, it's just because 26 is the next one coming up. People are searching for that. And there are still 2 games left, of course, for 25, but I'm addressing both, right? Our initial thoughts for 26 and reacting to the matches so far. Tarkowski to Munoz or roll the transfer. Probably roll at the moment, but I understand why people are very bullish on Munoz, at least in terms of the fixtures. Also, my plan is to wait until Chelsea's fixtures turn, take out Chalobah and Joao Pedro and bring Thiago back and Senesi. I think that's promising, and you could also go for Hill, who's a bit riskier compared to Senesi, but he's also 3.9 million. Got Bowen and thinking of selling him to Ekitike. Over the next couple of weeks, I think that makes sense, and I would like to keep Ekitike if possible, but I will probably make a downgrade up front to extract those funds that I need. But yeah, Ekitike looks good. I'm currently 2.9 million and my target is 100k. Do you think that's possible? It is possible. It's going to be tough, but yes. I think it takes just 1 or 2 superb weeks and then you make some massive rank rises even now. Whilst the gaps between ranks are not going to be as fine or thin as they were earlier this season, there's still the potential to rise quite significantly, especially with the doubles and blanks and also your chips being in play. What's the reason for saving the triple captain until 36? Well, there are more doubles coming up in 33 and 36, and I already sort of addressed my current chip strategy, which I'm open-minded about. I could change it up a little bit, but what I'm looking to do at the moment is wildcard around 30 or 32, free hit in 31 or 34 for one of the blank game weeks, and yeah, probably bench boost in 33 and triple captain 36. That's pretty much what I'm looking at right now. And we could see City double in 36, by the way. And that's where I can triple captain Haaland by that stage. Thinking of selling Wilson for either Mbeumo or Enzo. Short-term Enzo, a change after. Well, Mbeumo is currently a doubt for 26 with an injury, so watch that space. I think with Enzo, I still like him as an FPL option, but I'm not sure if I'd buy him in. I think he's more of a hold than a purchase, because with Palmer playing, he plays a bit deeper. He's second choice for penalties, and I think Palmer will get the bulk of the points and the goals, the big chances, etc. But yeah, Enzo's still fine. It's an upgrade on Wilson, in my opinion, but I'd be more inclined to buy Rice and a few other midfielders instead right now. My captain this game week is Gabriel. Well, look, I'm not going to say it was amazing because, look, 6 points is a return, but it's not spectacular. It's only a 4-point gap, right, between him and Fernandes. If you have both of them, it's not a massive swing. But of course, still a bit disappointing, I get that. Last question, Raya, Gabriel or Rice? Yeah, the best captain for me would be Gabriel, but I do like Declan Rice. I think with goalkeepers, I just wouldn't really captain them in FPL, even in a double game week. So yeah, it's going to be Gabriel first, probably Rice second, but if you want something a bit differential, I think Gyökeres with his recent form would be quite enticing. You have the same chip plan as me. I just can't bring myself to triple captain Gabriel. Doesn't feel right and seems boring. Yeah, also, I look at the games. I think Arsenal will concede against Brentford, and whilst I think they should win both games, yeah, the clean sheet against Wolves is likely on paper, but it's also away from home, and Arsenal really struggled against Wolves back in December, so yeah, I'm not really feeling it the way others are in terms of triple captaining Gabriel. Haaland own goal incoming. If that means Liverpool win, I'll take it. Ashwin says, hi Dylan, my team Ekitike, Haaland, Krupi, Bruno, Enzo, Rogers, Rice, Timber, Gabriel, Dallo, Lefay, Alderete, Dubravka, Allison, 2 free transfers, 2 million in the bank. Suggestions, thinking Tarkowski to Munoz because of Crystal Palace's fixtures. I understand that, and I think with Everton, you look at their games coming up and you don't see too many clean sheets there, but yeah, there's not really too much to sort of nitpick here. I think you're in a good position. I don't like Lefay too much. I think he's one to sell, and I think Allison could be improved upon. So you're looking at Pickford, Raya, Riffs. In your situation, you've got Rice, Timber, Gabriel already, so naturally you'd probably say Allison to Pickford or Riffs. Lefay, I would upgrade, and that's where you could go to Bruno Guimaraes, or let's see. I also would sell Dallo, by the way, despite the return today. Maybe not now, but I think in a couple of weeks that could be another option for you. But yeah, I look at Lefay. He's him and Allison are the 2 to sell over the next couple of weeks, and I think Tarkowski to Munoz, not a massive difference for me, but I could see the appeal of a Crystal Palace defender. Dalot smashing it. I thought of bringing him in, but I wasn't a fan of Man United defence. Do you still think he's a good pick? Not necessarily, and I think the Romero red card was very telling. With Man United, it's Bruno Fernandes and then one of Mbeumo, if he's fit, or Cunha. I think that's pretty much how I would sort of rank them. With United defenders, Dalot's probably the best of a bad bunch. If Dorgu was still available, he would be the one I'd suggest as the 4th or 5th defender, but I don't really trust the Red Devils defensively still. If you activate your wildcard after Double Gameweek 26, what are some of the players you're considering to bring? I'll talk more about that in over a week's time, right? But yeah, I'd still have an Arsenal player, maybe even 2. But I think by that stage, you're looking at Liverpool. So Florian Wirtz, Ekitike, maybe both of them. I think with City, you would go for 1 or 2 assets. So Haaland and possibly Semenyo. So that will be talked about more in detail when we get to that stage. I think Bournemouth would still be appealing. So Krupi and or Hill. Ashwin says, I think it should be the other way around. Defenders should get points on 12 DEFCON. Yeah, that makes sense. And midfielders forward should be 10 DEFCON. Yeah, I think it should just be 12 for everyone. I think maybe that would be a bit more consistent and fair. If not 10 for everyone, then that means more points. Would you go Rice to Wirtz in 27? At the moment, I'd say no, but I get the appeal. I talked about Wirtz a lot in my recent wildcard video, but I think Rice could do well against Tottenham and Chelsea. Sam says, hi Dylan, do I need improvements ahead of Gameweek 26? Do you need improvements? Up front, maybe, just for 26 specifically, but you'd also want Thiago long-term, and Krupi is fine against Everton away on paper, but yeah, I don't like the Chelsea defensive double-up. I've always said that. I think that's something to definitely trim down when Chelsea's fixtures turn for the worse, but I think for now you're good. Sanchez, Gabriel, Timber, probably Chalobah. You start all the midfielders you mentioned there. And yeah, up front probably Krupi and Haaland. I think that's pretty decent. DEFCON needs the change in terms of defenders and DMs is 15 and attackers is 10. It's easy for defenders and DMs to get DEFCON points. Fair enough. I mean, it depends really on the context, but yeah, for forwards, it's definitely more difficult. I think Bowen's the only one to have secured DEFCON so far this season. Who do you think will be the most transferred in player in Gameweek 26 outside of Arsenal? Palmer, because of the hat-trick. Thoughts on Zubimendi? Is he interchanging with Rice on the more attacking role? Zubimendi is still mainly sitting, but he has those moments where he pushes forward, and they have a very good combination. And before Arsenal signed Zubimendi, people kind of likened him to Jorginho. And whenever Rice played with Jorginho, they had a very good dynamic, particularly in the big games. Whilst he has made a few big mistakes this season, Zubimendi has also scored some huge goals. And yeah, I think he has been a brilliant signing overall. And FPL-wise, he's quite underrated, but I'm still going to recommend Rice over him. Gyökeres up front, and then you've got the defenders. Gabriel is the best option overall. You've got Timber. Saliba's okay. Raya in goal will be right up there. But yeah, I think Zubimendi is a good FPL option for sure. Do you think Rice is still essential? He's not essential anyway, but I think he's worth keeping after 26, yeah. Is getting in free Arsenal players a must? No, but I would recommend having at least 2. Could single Gameweek players outscore double Gameweek players? Yes, I mentioned 2 of them already, Palmer and Bruno Fernandes being 2 of them, and that also answers the question about the most transferred in player who isn't from Arsenal. I think those 2 would be the main standouts. I think Joao Pedro would be another one. Yo, Dylan, I got just under 80 points. Was this a good team? Yeah, 80 points is solid. Obviously, Caicedo got 20 DEFCON. Palmer did very well. Bruno Fernandes captain. So, yeah, just be a bit careful about Mbeumo. He might miss 26. We'll talk about that soon. But those players are looking quite solid. Maybe you'd want to consider Tarkowski to Gabriel or Daniel Munoz. But I think Gabriel will be the preference and also the priority. My prediction tomorrow is Virgil battle with Haaland. Virgil miskicks the ball and Haaland takes advantage and scores a banger. Well, I think Haaland scores all types of goals. I'm not sure if he scores bangers. The wrong Chelsea player got the hat-trick, says Ahmad. Yes, but I don't think Enzo will score any hat-tricks anytime soon, to be fair. Thanks for your replies, Dylan. Appreciate it. Thank you, Ashwin. Chow and Lewis Potter to Timber and Hill for Gameweek 26. Yes. Absolutely. I think that is a great set of upgrades. There is the possibility that Timber is benched in one of those games, but yeah, I think he's still the second best Arsenal defender. I Am Anonymous says, any advice on this team? Raya Dubravka, 3.7 million defender. Okay, that's interesting. Joachim Anderson, Gabriel, Senesi, Tarkovsky, Wilson, Bruno Fernandes, Rice, Rogers, Enzo, Mark Guiu, Haaland, Ivanosen. Yeah, Ivanosen isn't like a must-sell, but I'd probably offload him to one of João Pedro, Ekitike, or Thiago long-term, but I wouldn't buy Thiago now. I think that goes without saying. Midfield is fine. The only possible move would be Wilson to Bruno Guimaraes, Mbeumo if he's fit. I've mentioned plenty of midfielders like Garner, Elliot Anderson, and Dewsbury Hall, but I don't think you have to make that move, to be fair. Defensively, you've got Raya, Gabriel, Rice, so you're set for Double Gameweek 26, no need to change that. But yeah, Munoz could be considered in that defensive line. Hill, although you've got Senesi already, so I'm a bit less keen on that. But yeah, I think what I'd probably say is Ivanosen is the one to sell. And if you make it this week, depending on your budget, then yeah, I think Ekitike, Gyökeres, although you've got triple up in Arsenal already, so probably not worth it for you. João Pedro, they would be the best ones to replace Ivanosen. And from 27 onwards, it'd be Igor Thiago. Twisted Parky says, Riffs, Timber, Gabriel, Chalobah, Semenyo, Mbeumo, Bruno, Rice, DCL, Haaland, João Pedro, Dubravka, Garner. Yeah, I did go for this before, Twisted Parky. So, yeah, in terms of your squad, it's looking good. With Mbeumo, we'll wait and see. We don't really have any information on that. You don't need to force in Munoz anyway. You're in a good position defensively. And you've got 3 Arsenal players already who are probably the most template and the best options, the most consistent ones anyway. But yeah, as I told you before, I'd probably keep Rice and Semenyo. With Timber, I'd be more open about selling him, and that's where you could buy in Daniel Munoz. Ahmad says, meant Pedro my captain. Yeah, but still 2 penalties earned. Well, 8 points. It's not bad. You've done well, mate. Well done. I am on 62 points of verts to play. Yeah, looking good. Yeah, hopefully we can get a green arrow by the end. I think it should be. And I just hope Ekitike blanks at this point and Liverpool win, but I'm asking for a lot. How can I improve my team? Rufs, Dubravka, Munoz, Timber, Gabriel, Goodmanson, Alderete. So I would invest a bit more money in your defensive line. So you've got 3 premiums already, but in terms of having Goodmanson and Alderete, my advice... And to be fair, even with this, Goodmanson to Hill, I mean, you're still going to have a similar structure, but I think Hill's an upgrade. I'd probably sell in Die as well. So you've got nothing in the bank, right? I think in Die to one of Elliot Anderson, Dewsbury Hall, or Garner. I think that's pretty solid. Goodmanson to Hill. Over time, you can do that. And I think that's pretty good to go. Yeah. And I'd keep the midfielders you have for now. But you've got the flexibility to buy Rogers, Antoine Semenyo, and a few other different options there. So, yeah, those are my main complaints, if anything. And you can also use those extra funds to upgrade the forward line, potentially. And that's where you can buy, maybe not Ekitike, that's probably pushing it, but Igor Thiago, João Pedro by 27. I thought Enzo was lively and would score today, but also Mbeumo benched in 26. Okay, I will listen. It's not just about, well, it's not really a question of Mbeumo being benched, it's just that he picked up a problem. So it's one to monitor going into the next deadline. But yeah, I'd back Mbeumo to start, but I need more information first before really having an informed opinion about it. Enzo's still a good FPL asset, but I think with Palmer scoring the hat-trick, people will have second thoughts about him. Rosenau bringing João Pedro form back. Yeah, he has been very impressive recently, but João Pedro also had a brilliant start to his Chelsea career under Maresca, and then he showed a lot of inconsistency. Was hoping for a Pedro goal in the end, didn't really do any better than Thiago. Well, still 3 points better, there's a difference, but yeah. I was close to selling Ekitike to João Pedro, and I would have maybe captained him, but that was primarily because of the Gandhi curse, the early kickoff for Bruno Fernandes, but Yeah, Romero definitely helped out in the end. There is no way you say triple Arsenal is not essential. It is 100% essential. Minimum of 10, 12 points in the double game week as a floor for the popular Arsenal triple ups. The thing is, you're saying essential. I think with that word, you don't have to have 3 Arsenal players, because then after that, at least for some people, they'll think, well, it's Tottenham and Chelsea. They're not going to return that well in those games. The way I see it, I think having 2 Arsenal players is fine. That's what I would recommend. If you want, you can call that essential. But I think having a third, like Timber, for example, if he's benched against Wolves and he's part of the Arsenal triple up, then what do we say about that then? Or Gyökeres, I think he'll start one game, but not both. So I think there's a fine line in terms of saying I would recommend a triple up, which I would for Double Gameweek 26, and also you have to have 3 Arsenal players. It's essential. I just don't agree with that. I don't think Rosenau brought back Pedro's form. Very easy fixtures did that. Yeah, that is true. He did blank against Arsenal after all. When will UCL playoff round be? Yeah, the knockout phase playoffs will be in, 2 weeks' time. So not this week coming up, but the one after, and I'll be covering it on this channel. One easy, is Palmer worth buying? Yeah, he's worth buying, but he's not essential. I wouldn't say you have to rush into him. And there's going to be a lot of euphoria, a lot of reactionary picks and transfers in because of the hat-trick. I don't think he'll score another one next week. I think a return is possible, maybe even likely, but yeah, I wouldn't be in a rush. I sold Pedro Neto. Going him over Enzo didn't really go well 4 weeks ago. Bought Semenyo in. Time to build transfers now for blank Gameweek 31. Yeah, it's very important to also find that balance between double Gameweek 26 and blank Gameweek 31, but yeah, it's going to be time to wrap this up. Basically, I'll whiz through the rest of these questions and then call it a day. Drop a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. I will be having late dinner very soon. Nightel says 2 free transfers, Rice to Hwang Hee-chan and Thiago to Gyökeres. No, is the simple answer. I just wouldn't buy Hwang Hee-chan to replace Rice. I get it. The Gyökeres move looks really enticing, but I wouldn't sell Rice. Why do you think Timber might be benched for one of the games next week? I don't think he will, but I talked about this before the Sunderland game, especially with him missing training on Thursday or Wednesday it was. It wouldn't surprise me if he was benched either in 25 or against Wolves away. That's the way I see it. I think in the FA Cup, White will start, and that is where you could just say, well, Timber will start the Premier League games, but it's not an absolute guarantee. I'll be honest, I think if I had to sort of guess yes or no, I think Timber will start both matches in 26, and he is my most likely transfer defensively, but it would not surprise me whatsoever if he was benched, particularly against Wolves away, to be honest. The risk of buying Palmer is hoping he's not getting injured again. Well, I think the up and down performances also is a direct consequence of the groin issues, and for that price tag, you need consistency, and Palmer hasn't really delivered that for almost 2 years now. Who's a better pick from Gameweek 26 to 31, Rodgers or Saliba? I think you asked this question yesterday in the Deadline stream, and I'm going to say the same thing, Rodgers. How long we know if a team for next double game week? I'm not sure what you mean by that, to be honest with you. Yeah, I'm not sure what you meant. Would you bring in Palmer for free instead of Enzo? Yes, I would, but once again, if you got Enzo, you don't need to sell him. He's still a good choice in the midfield, and he offers better value than Palmer, who got a hat-trick today, but before that, I think he showed a lot of inconsistency this season. I think I might try and get Trossard in for the double game week instead of Rice because I can afford Trossard for Ghana. That's what I mean with the Arsenal assets. I think Trossard is an example of a differential who could produce a big return in double game week 26, but I'd still prefer Rice, Gyökeres, Gabriel, Timber, Raya, maybe even Zubimendi, but yeah, Trossard is a clutch player and he has scored big goals even against Wolves before. Thinking of getting Wirtz possibly for Mbumo, Munoz may be in, and Thiago for Pedro in 2 free weeks. Good plan. I think all of them are viable, particularly Florian Wirtz, who has shown good form across all competitions recently, and I think Thiago will be on everyone's radar soon. Thank you, FPL Gameweek. See you very soon as well. Yeah, Thiago could drop in price tonight, as highlighted earlier. Raya is for me the obvious choice for the Gunners' second defender. Yeah, no risk of rotation there, I get that, but for 5.9 million, I do think Pickford and Roofs offer better value. Currently I have Ivanilson and Kripke Jr., and I'm thinking of getting Thiago after 27. When should I do it? Probably in 27, actually. But I wouldn't buy Thiago now when he's facing Arsenal. He can score against them, but you're probably relying on penalties there. Yeah, I think Ivanosen to Thiago in 27. Thank you very much there, and good luck for the rest of the season. Jay says, hi Dylan, should I do Senesi to Hill now to prepare for Enzo and Joao Pedro out to Ekitike and Gisbury Hall? Or Douglas Luiz in 28, I have the exact funds. I will just wait for that because you're probably going to sell the Chelsea duo later on. And Senesi to Hill, I don't think either player will drop or rise in price soon, but yeah, I think Hill will attract quite a lot of interest after that 7-pointer today. So yeah, I can understand why you want to pull the trigger early. And there is a very quick deadline. But I think it's probably best to do all of the moves at once going into Game Week 27. So I think for now, probably hold unless one of Senesi or Hill are projected to change in price, which would impact you. Carl says, evening, I can either have Saliba, Calafiori or Zubimendi, priced out of Rice now, thoughts appreciated. I'd still go for Saliba, but yeah, Zubimendi has been a decent FPL option. His returns have been very difficult to predict, and he has scored in back-to-back games now against Leeds and Sunderland. So yeah, if you're asking me now against Brentford and Wolves, I don't think Zubimendi will score, but he can still get DEFCON, an assist. He's a quality player, but I'd probably go for Saliba. I have Saka. If he's not going to start, I'm going to free hit because the blank Gameweek is no problem for me. He probably won't start. There is a chance he returns for Double Gameweek 26, but Arsenal are targeting a return for the North London derby in the following match day. Another Palmer captain, fair play Rasmus. It's my first year playing FPL. I have 5 players blanking in 31. What do I have to do? Well, that's where you can play the free hit, but that's just one avenue and possibility. You've still got plenty of free transfers from now until Game Week 31 to navigate that period. So you can also just use those transfers, maybe take a hit and save the free hit for blank Game Week 34. Because I don't want to sell them free Arsenal, Haaland, Munoz. Maybe you don't have to. Maybe you just sell 2 of the Arsenal players. And yeah, if you really want to keep these players long term, then that's where the free hit in 31 would make a lot of sense for you. For me, no. I'll probably use the triple captain in 36, as I mentioned earlier. 33 is a possibility, but I think that's where I'll probably use the bench boost instead. For dinner, I'm probably having homemade pizza, to be fair. I'm having spicy sausage, says Twisted Parky. Cottage pie. Okay, very nice. And fried egg. Well, enjoy it. And some of those I'm probably going to butcher, even though, yeah, don't even know what I'm saying at this point, but it does sound tasty and is making me hungry. I did ask that question in the deadline stream, and you said Saliba over Rodgers. Did I? I'd have to play it back, but what I did mention to you then, I'm pretty sure, is that Saliba doubles in 26, but he blanks in 31. So, yeah, they're basically playing the same number of games. I'm going to say Rodgers. Saliba's just going to be like a tick along nicely, get 6 points, nothing really more than that. Would you do Enzo Mukiele to Saliba and Dewsbury Hall? I'm probably going to say no. I do like Dewsbury Hall, and Saliba's okay, but yeah, I'd probably keep Enzo for now. I mean, by a team that could be getting a double Gameweek next, how long could we wait to prepare for strategy? Well, that's going to be heavily influenced by the FA Cup, and I'll talk more about that later in the season, but we don't have the context yet in terms of which teams will double and stuff. But City and Palace is most likely going to be in 36. Obviously, Arsenal and Wolves will be now in 26, and we're going to get plenty more based on the FA Cup. ¿Qué opinas de cambiar a Igor Thiago y Klein por Krupi Jr. y Timber? Me gusta bastante. Lo único que voy a decir es que Igor Thiago es una buena opción para la jornada 27 y hasta el resto de la temporada. Pero sí, creo que Krupi Jr. es un delantero muy bueno para su precio y Timber es el segundo mejor defensa o defensor para Arsenal. Así que me gustan mucho las transferencias. Double midweek Arsenal City. Also, what should be the play here? Triple captain or bench boost? I would rather save the bench boost for 33, which should be a bigger double game week. And I'm going to play the triple captain in 36, which is where City could double. But yeah, City Palace will not double this week. It's only Arsenal and Wolves. And if you were to play one chip, depends on your squad really, but probably the triple captain. I definitely wouldn't play the bench boost this week in my situation. Thank you, Carl. And thank you, Frankie. Enjoy the late supper. Matrix says, true, Palmer is expensive, but I have Watkins, who also isn't worth the money. My plan is Enzo to Palmer, Watkins to Krupi. Yeah, I would do that based on recent form. Watkins is still worth holding in some situations, but yeah, the same goes for Enzo Fernandez. I think with Palmer, of course, is heavily influenced by the hat-trick today. But I talked about him a few weeks ago, buying him in quite early. And whilst he was quite disappointing for, I think, another game or two since I recommended him, he scored that hat-trick and made up for it. You get double points in 26 of Arsenal players or just the best score? No. They just have 2 games in the same game week. So they're playing against Brentford away and Wolves away. And Wolves are facing Nottingham Forest away and Arsenal at home. So they've got 2 matches in the same game week, which is why you've got the appeal. It doesn't mean they're going to return in those matches, but they've got a better chance, of course, with more minutes played. Then if you said no to Saliba, then Enzo to Trossard or Madueke. Probably Trossard. I think Rice is still the best Arsenal midfielder by some distance, and I'll be honest, I think Enzo is superior to Trossard and Madueke in FPL right now. Mr. Parky says, I make sometimes pizza with almonds, diced milk, mozzarella, goated cheese, grated cheese, goated maybe, and spoonful of cheese spread and egg. Wow. Bacon powder seasoning. That's your base, and then toppings after browned. Lovely. There, I'm really hungry now. Almonds blitzed into flour. Yeah, I can visualize it. If Bruno Guimaraes was to keep pens, would be very appealing. In the absence of Gordon, who should be back very soon. And Voltemada can also have a say in that as well. So not an absolute guarantee, but Bruno Guimaraes should be second in command. I've gone from 3.3 million to 1.9. Finally, a white chevron on a circular green badge. Good rank rise, very significant. And that goes to show that 1 or 2 weeks can definitely change things in a very positive way. So hopefully you have another week like that coming up in Double Gameweek 26. And yeah, you definitely have a sort of potential with all the chips remaining if you have that, and also plenty of doubles and blanks after Game Week 30 to make those rank rises and yeah, make some significant gains. I'm not sure what happened to the message there. I was like half hiding there, but thank you everyone for tuning in for the past 2 hours. So yeah, this reaction stream has maybe been reminiscent of the earlier ones this season. So what I'll probably do here is just show you my FPL Challenge squad one last time and update the bonus points and stuff. So I've got 59 because Ryan did get 1, so that's a 7-pointer from him. So I'll quickly update that, and then yeah, bid you farewell, adieu, adios, ciao, for the weekend. But the plan is to record some FPL content, the transfer tips, best wildcard squad, and my team selection for Double Gameweek 26. So yeah, let's get this show on the road. Let's see. So yeah, 59 points. I'm going to update that now for FPL Challenge, and 65 for Fantasy Premier League with only 1 player left in Haaland. And for FPL Challenge, Daniel Munoz is currently my only remaining player. Maybe I'll have a change of heart, but it's just for the double points awarded to Brighton and Palace players for FPL Challenge. So there you go. That is all updated. Yeah, and Gordon's injury isn't too serious there, Twisted Parky, so he will be back very soon, according to Eddie Howe, who is so trustworthy in his press conferences. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and also click the hype button on YouTube. So yeah, just see what the hype is about, I guess. Share this as well with those that love FPL and UCL Fantasy, which I'll be covering until the end of the season. So there is a quick turnaround between 25 and Double Gameweek 26, but after that there's a bit of a break for Fantasy Premier League. But we've also got UCL Fantasy coming up very soon for the knockout phase playoffs, which I'll be covering out of Matchday 9, where we get unlimited transfers. And follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, so you get all the updates for my content and for Fantasy Premier League, the Champions League, and more. Thank you, Jay. Would you rather have Dewsbury Hall or Douglas Luiz? Definitely Dewsbury Hall for me. Sell Collins or Chow for Gabriel? I'd sell Collins. Rank 4,651 to 4,483. Great rank though, and it can be frustrating sometimes when you barely go up or you seem to stagnate, but yeah, that's a great position to be in. Latest Twisted Parky, always a pleasure. Palmer, once he gets hot, he doesn't stop. Not so sure if I agree with that one, to be fair. Yes, Palmer can be a streaky player, he's got a high ceiling, but yeah, I think at that price tag, he needs to be very consistent like he was 2 years ago, and we haven't seen that for a while. Dango 0.3% could be a great differential. Yeah, I've seen a few people mention him, and that's definitely one to monitor, but I still prefer Elliot Anderson, Garner, and a few other midfielders I've talked about in this video, and also in my recent ones. Even Harry Wilson would be one, but yeah, Dango is definitely one to look at if you are chasing the differential route. So thanks everyone, take care, enjoy the football. We've got 2 games left tomorrow, Crystal Palace against Brighton and Liverpool against Man City, and I will be sort of reacting to those matches as well, providing that into my analysis for the upcoming videos. And the next deadline stream will be on Tuesday, with the Champions League also returning the following week. Take care, enjoy the football. I wish you a green arrow and all the best of luck for the rest of the season, and let's see how Double Gameweek 26 ends up panning out.